Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming from right here in our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. I'm joined in studio today by Jonathan Voico.
Good morning.
Writer, director, producer, Robert Meyer Burnett.
Great to be here today.
But most importantly, of course, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here, making our little show part of your day. And here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a number of predetermined topics we got lined up for you guys. Then in the second part of the show, well, that's when we take your live comments and questions. If you have a thought, theory, opinion, question, or topic you'd like us to address, and we'll address it as long as we deem what you send in appropriate to be addressed on the show, we reserve the right not to address it, but you can send it on into our tip link at www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. Now, here's the good news about this tip link. It's actually good 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you're listening to our podcast feed, either on like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice, or if you're watching this show a little bit later in the day when we're not live, you can still send in a question to this tip link. And even if you send one in when we're not live, we'll just get around to answering it on the next episode. All right, guys. That down. Should mention, on the weekend, I went to see The Weeknd. Good Canadian kid. Went to go see another good Canadian kid. Puts on a hell of a show. That dude puts on a hell of a show. I got to give it to him. But I also do have to say, I've been and played in many concerts in my life. I have never been to a louder concert. Ever. And it was at SoFi Stadium in LA. Third night in a row, all sold out. I still can't completely hear out of this year.
Wow.
I mean, it's coming back slowly but surely over a couple of days.
Getting old, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I've just never, and I've been in some loud venues, man. But that was, and I was surprised because I walked in there, I saw a whole bunch of people wearing these like specialized earplug things. And they're like, oh yeah, that's what people wear going to concerts now. I'm like, never heard of them. Probably should have taken them up on that. But anyway, gotta say, if you get a chance to go see The Weeknd, go watch The Weeknd. He's pretty damn good. All right. With that all down, guys, let's get things started off here, shall we? And we're going to get things started with this. Massive news last week, as we now know who the new director of James Bond is going to be for at least one film, but it sounded like maybe it'll be for several. And it's maybe arguably, I mean, it's between him and Christopher Nolan as the absolute best directors working in film today. Another good Canadian kid, Denis Villeneuve, who of course is doing Dune. Yeah, he did the recent Blade Runner 2049, Sicario, Arrival, Prisoners. I mean, the guy's just hit after hit. I mean, he's amazing what he makes. But that then turned the question back to, who's going to play Bond? Who's going to be James Bond? Now, you might remember, Rob, a year or so ago, there were some reports going around that Tom Holland was very, very interested in the gig, and that he may have even talked to some people. Well, according to Variety, that wasn't nothing. Because Variety is saying right now that up there near the top and at the top of the list for Amazon's wish list to be the new Bond, Spider-Man's up there. Tom Holland is up there. This comes to us from Variety, who writes the following. Insiders say that the studio and producers are interested in casting a British actor under the age of 30 with Jacob Elordi from Saltburn. He's great, by the way. Tom Holland, Spider-Man, and Harris Dickinson from Baby Girl at the top of the list. Elordi is Australian, but that wouldn't really be a deal breaker as far as Amazon is concerned. Remember, Aussie George Lazenby starred on Her Majesty's Secret Service. While there has been speculation that Aaron Taylor Johnson or Henry Cavill, I'd like both those names very much, would be possible heirs to Craig. They are 35 and 42 respectively, and thus unlikely to fit the mandate. All right. Now, over the past year or two, as we've been speculating and talking about reports about who could be the name James Bond, we have always thrown out there, hey, we have heard that they may want to be looking younger, like somebody who can be James Bond for 10, 15, 20 years. Like they don't want to have to revisit the whole drama every couple of years as, well, now who's going to be James Bond? And now who's going to be... They want to find somebody, lock him in, and have that be James Bond for a decade or more. So it's kind of understandable that they would be looking at the sub-30 crowd. Again, if that is true, that does unfortunately mean that Ricky Tikki-Taki and my boy Henry are out of the running. I've wanted to see Henry Cavill as James Bond. Remember, Henry Cavill was the runner-up to play James Bond. He lost out the role to Daniel Craig. And so I thought he would be great to come in here. But okay, let's talk about what the real story is. All due respect to Jacob Elordi and Harris Dickinson, and they very well could get the goal. But the name that's going to be talked about here most is probably Tom Holland. As a matter of fact, just walking into the studio now, I said to my wife as she was heading into her office, hey, they're saying Tom Holland might be top of the list to play James Bond, to which my wife's response was, hell yeah. And that was it. And so that gives you a basic idea about how all women everywhere will possibly look at this casting. All right, look, I said this before about a year ago when we talked about Tom Holland. I will repeat the same things because it really hasn't changed. I don't see Tom Holland as a fit for Bond. He's okay. Now, granted, the dude is jacked now. Like he's jacked. He's in tremendous physical shape. I'll give him that. He's a shorter guy. I guess that didn't stop Tom Cruise from playing Reacher. And that first one, hey, listen, say what you want about Reacher, Never Stop, Never Die, Never Dying. That first Reacher film that Tom Cruise did was really damn good.
It was.
That was really good. And he looked nothing like
what... That was Chris McQuarrie.
Yes, it was. That's right. It was McHugh.
The name was fitting, though. He had to reach. He had to reach so
He had to
much.
reach for everything.
The
reach
top
for the
shelf was
doorknob.
almost unreachable.
Reach to shake hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, and he looked nothing like what Reacher's supposed to look like, but that, at the end of the day, all that really counts was the movie good, and the movie was really good. But again, he does not fit the physical prototype of what I think Bond should look like. But I will say this, and I said this before, I will say it again. The most important part about any casting when it comes to me is, are you looking at talented performers? That's the first main question, because if the answer to that question is yes, I can soften my position on a lot of the other checkboxes. You know what I mean? Like that, like the reason I didn't like the casting of Gal Gadot when they first cast her as Wonder Woman was not because I didn't think she was the right height or I didn't think she was the right eye color. No, it was because she's not a very good actress. And that was always my problem when it comes to anybody else. So, and I got to give it to him. Like, even when he's in questionable movies, and Tom Holland's been in a few questionable ones, he's always really good in it. Like he delivers. He's a terrific performer. He can clearly he could probably do the physicality of Bond better than any other Bond we've ever had. He is easily the most athletic dude out of anybody who's ever played Bond. So, I mean, if you're looking for things to give him check marks for, he could easily be the most physical Bond we've ever had. He is the right age. He could play the role for a long time. He is a handsome dude. He's developing that square, chiseled jaw kind of look. I think a lot of people's big problem is going to be they will still, when they hear the name Tom Holland, and I admit I fall into this category too, we still picture teeny bopper Tom Holland. We still picture that first Spider-Man movie, Tom Holland, as the kid in high school. And that's a kid. That's not a man. This dude's about to marry Zendaya. He's a man. He's now his mid-20s. He's in tremendous physical shape, and he's a great actor. Would he be my choice to play James Bond? No. If they end up announcing him as James Bond, will I be okay with it? Yes, because he's a great actor. I know we go to this one a lot, Rob, but when you look back to the second Christopher Nolan Batman film, Dark Knight, and they hired Heath Ledger, and to which everybody said, Brokeback Mountain boy, like that. Yeah, even to a lot of people, it's like that didn't really feel like a good fit. But what a lot of people said is, well, Heath's a really good actor, so maybe he can make something out of this. And I will at least carry that optimism into it. So again, Rob, wouldn't be my choice. But if he is, great actor, good look, could easily be the best physical Bond we've ever had. So not my pick, but I would be okay with it. Now, you're the big Bondite in the room. So there are other names on this list, Jacob Elordi, Harris Dickinson. There are other names not listed in the article as well. How would you feel about Tom Holland? I don't know. What do you think?
I love Tom Holland as an actor. I think that here's the thing about James Bond. James Bond as a character represents a masculinity that we are lacking in our culture today. And I think that the character, like when I look at an Aaron Taylor Johnson in what he's been in, maybe not Craven, but in something like Bullet Train, even as Quicksilver, in the brief moment he played Quicksilver, he has a certain masculinity.
Oh, even in 28 Years Later.
Absolutely in 28 Years Later, that I think Bond possesses. When I saw Uncharted, I did not believe Tom Holland as Nathan Drake. He just seemed too young. Nathan Drake, I did not believe that he had the seasoned explorer thing that you need. I mean, Tom Holland, I hate to say it, just looks like too much of a boy to me. Now, does that mean that he can't play the part? No. But combined with Denis Villeneuve, I watched Sicario this weekend simply because I was thinking a lot about Denis Villeneuve and could he bring the buoyancy and the humor that a character like Bond needs? Sicario is awesome.
Yeah.
It is an awesome movie. But you know what? Even Emily Blunt, who is in a way, the Emily Blunt character in Sicario tells me how Denis Villeneuve is going to handle Bond, in the sense that, and I'll get to that in a second, I just don't believe Tom Holland can play James Bond. I don't think he's convincing. However, and of course, the studio wants him. You know, that listens. The studio wants these people. These are the three people that are like in movies that you can see like right now. Like, let's pick the it guys that are in the movies. It's like the easiest choices to make. Of course, Tom Holland, you look at his box office earnings as Spider-Man and in the Avengers movies. Why wouldn't you want to? Everybody wants Tom Holland to play the leading man in everything. I think the most interesting thing about this announcement is the fact they want to find an under 30 Bond, which leads me to believe they're going to do a fantastic thing with their approach to Bond. I think we're going to see Bond in the beginning of these movies. We're going to see him as a naval commander. And because if he starts out as young in a 20s actor, brilliant idea. You see, because the movie gets to open and you see Bond as a naval officer working for Her Majesty or His Majesty. We've never seen that in the Bond movies. It predates when he gets his 00, so it predate Casino Royale's Daniel Craig. And you could do half the movie. You show his naval career, he leaves the career, he goes into the intelligence service, and the entire first movie can be giving us a Bond origin that comes right out of Fleming's novels that isn't what we've ever seen before.
Right.
And it sets up the Bond character and gives him a backstory like he's never had. You see him being a really great naval officer, which is why he wanted to get tapped for intelligence pre-00. And you could set the whole movie during that era of Bond's life. And that would be dope. And then the character can go off with continuity and play him for 20 years. And you could watch Bond's entire life. You could go back to Fleming's original novels. You could do whatever you wanted. And it's a great approach. I don't know if that's their approach, but when they said that they want a Bond in his 20s, that makes sense to me. And
yeah, because it gives you the opportunity to truly start this character right from a blank page, develop what this Bond's origins are going to be. It gives you all of that opportunity.
100%. And looking at Sicario, I'm like, if you're going to start out making Bond in the military and make his naval service part of his, which I think you should do, Denis Villeneuve is the guy.
Yeah.
Because Bond isn't going to be, if you want to make him that's what excited me. It was like when I was watching Sicario, because Emily Blunt is James Bond in that movie. Yeah. Emily Blunt is the FBI agent that's a little wet behind the ears. And when Benicio del Toro is, what you see is not going to make sense to you. It is not going to, you're not going to know. And then when Josh Brolin's like, just do what he says, and I'm like, I was watching Sicario and I'm thinking, this is a James Bond movie. Cause I had said, funny enough, I go, give me Sicario Bond, baby. I tweeted that out but then I actually went back and watched Sicario and I'm like,
what it really is.
I wanted to know what I meant by my own tweet. And I was watching the movie going, yep. Just switch around the drug thing and make him a naval agent, wet behind the ears, that suddenly two guys from MI5 and MI6 show up to pluck him out and put him somewhere. Man, I'm in. I'm more in on this Bond movie now with my own theory of what it's supposed to be. I've made it up in my whole head. But I'm more interested now than ever to see this Bond movie.
Now, I did want to bring this up. This is the cover of the recent Men's Health. this guy could beat the shit out of any other James Bond. I'm just gonna that guy could beat the living shit out of any other James Bond. I mean, this is again, I said I count myself in this category of it's hard not to, when I think the name Tom Holland, think of the little kid we saw in the first Spider-Man movie, but
maybe not Daniel Craig in the Casino Royale because he was at his youngest, but
Daniel
also
Craig
built.
looked great in that movie, by the way. He looked awesome in that.
There is something to be said about having like muscle in your like 30s and 40s versus like in your 20s. It's just not as strong.
But this guy is, I mean, this guy is physically jacked.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy is an action star in the making. And again, just look at his face. He is now looking like he is in his mid 20s, which is what they're going for. So again, my choice, no. But would I be okay with it? He's a talented actor. You put a talented actor in the hands of a good director, and we have maybe the best director in the world right now.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, it can work. Let's put it this way. I'm not going to have a problem with it.
If Denise says it's fine and it works with his vision, like
that's
saying,
the thing.
And it's like, who are we to be like, no?
That's the thing. It didn't say Denis Villeneuve's picks.
Yes.
It
and they're not going to. You know they are not going to cast over Denis Villeneuve's head.
No.
On this.
But that's what it said in the article.
Yeah. So
the studio wants.
Yeah.
Of course,
so what their studio wish list is. But I'll say if Denise signs off on it, good enough for me. Again, not my first choice, but he's a great actor.
Especially if they go. I have no idea if they're going to go show his naval career, but a Tom Holland could pull that off.
Yeah.
Young naval officer, and if it makes sense that he's a certain age and he's just getting out of the military and he's really green and he's being plucked by Josh Brolin and Benicio del Toro.
Yeah, it'll be something. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Variety is saying Tom Holland, along with a couple of other names, by the way, but Tom Holland's kind of the headline here, is at the top of the list of Amazon's wish list to play James Bond. Not my pick, but when you really stop to think about it, could he do well if they're going for a Bond in his mid-20s? I think the answer to that, I mean, I don't know what you're looking at if you don't think the answer to that is yes, that could work out and could work out fine, even if you're like me and it's not your first choice. I don't know. Whatever you guys think about this, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? We were supposed to have Fast 11 by now. Or Fast 10 Part 2.
I feel so cheated.
I know. I'm like, where is it? After Fast 9 and 10, listen, everybody knows I'm a huge Vin Diesel fan. I'll be a Vin Diesel fan for life. Fast 9 and 10 were crap.
Awful.
Fast 10 was a little bit better than 9, still crap.
Didn't buy either one.
And the box office took a big slide down, did not make the money they thought it was going to make, and I think they've just been going back to the drawing board over and over and over again. Well, they're still saying it's happening, and Vin Diesel was just at an event, and he made a pretty interesting proclamation that in Part 11, they're going to bring back Brian. That's what they said. This comes to us from CBR, who wrote the following. Vin Diesel confirmed that Fast X Part 2, just call it Fast 11, Fast X Part 2 will bring back Brian. On stage, Diesel shared, the studio said to me, Vin, can we please have the finale of Fast and the Furious in April 2027? By the way, I guarantee you they did not ask him that.
Right.
But can we please have Fast and Furious in April 2027? I said under 3 conditions. He teased, adding to the camera filming. You're going to love this. First is to bring the franchise back to LA. I guarantee you the studio insisted that they bring it back to LA and that he can't shoot in 17 countries anymore. Anyway, you got to bring the franchise back to LA, he said as the crowd cheered. The second thing is that we have to return to the car culture, to the street racing, as if he wasn't the one who took it away from that in the first place. Again, I love Vin. I'm not crap talking Vin. I love Vin, but come on, Vin. The second thing was to return it to the car culture, to the street racing, which, by the way, the studio also wants to bring the budget down. But this is the part that surprised me. The actor explained, which was a longtime fan request, he added, the third thing was reuniting Dom and Brian O'Connor.
They came to me with tears in their eyes.
They came, please, Vin, please give us Fast 11. Yeah, listen, I guarantee you what happened was in talking with him, saying, okay, yeah, we'll do 11, but 17 countries around the world anymore. Nope, not going to give you the money to do that. bring it back to LA, bring it back down, make it more about the car racing culture, limit the budget a bit. But I do believe that he asked to have Brian back. And I got to tell you, that's the big thing here about bringing Brian back. I am a little torn on it, but at the same time, completely okay. Look, I believe the actor is never the character. The character is a work of fiction, provided we're not talking about a real life character. It's a work of fiction that different actors in their times can come in and play and portray and move on. And if an actor passes away while playing a character, I know it's not the popular thing to say, but guess what? Other actors play Bond, even though Sean Connery isn't with us anymore. It's not disrespectful. No, it's Sean Connery played Bond and now somebody else is playing Bond. It's just the way it is. I think it's okay, in theory, to have someone come back and play Brian. However, even I have to acknowledge that the circumstances surrounding Brian losing his performer were very unique. I mean, Paul Walker, they were literally in part 7 they were filming at the time? They were literally in the midst of making part 7 or 8. I can't remember which one it was. They were halfway or more than halfway done shooting the film. It was 7? In which he tragically died, ironically in a car accident. And that even the guy who says recast, even I've got to say, that's a very unique set of circumstances.
And they already gave him a great send-off at the end of that movie.
They did. I mean, and that's how they handled it beautifully. They handled it beautifully. They did what they needed to do to finish the movie. They brought in Paul's brothers, did a little bit of digital touch-upping, finished out the movie, and then they did that "Till I See You Again," which everybody gets choked up when they hear that song now, and the cars go diverging on their separate ways, and everybody gets weepy. It was a very unique set of circumstances. We're now years later and several films later, and you're now talking about wrapping up this franchise, right? I can absolutely understand the idea of this franchise was born with Toretto and Brian. That was this franchise. It was the Toretto and Brian franchise. And now that they're getting ready to wrap it up, is there an appropriateness to bring the character back one more time? And I've changed my mind, Rob. When I first read this story yesterday, my thought was, no. You already gave him the send-off. You already wrote the character out. You can't bring him back. But in like the last 24 hours, I've thought about it more. And with the way technology is now, I mean, they had a very good experience working with Paul's brothers. Paul's family is totally all for it, which is the most important thing. And it would almost feel weird to end the Fast franchise without Brian there. So I've gone back and forth on this, Rob, and maybe I'll go back and forth some more. I'm actually okay with this. Depending on how they handle it.
Yeah.
I've come around to being okay with this. I don't know. You hear about this. What's your initial thought on it?
Well, I mean, we're reaching a point in our civilization where we're going to have to choose, because now it's going to be so easy to digitally recreate people that are no longer with us. Are we going to want to watch that? And do you want to watch long dead performers interacting with real performers? Or is it not going to matter? I mean, I really think, I don't know the answer. In this particular case, depending on how much the character plays into the film, the fact that they used his brother to come back and recreate him, which I think they would probably do something along those lines. I assume
that's what they would do again.
If that's what they're going to do, that to me is at least acceptable. Because that you're seeing the guy's brother at least was the basis of the digital capture of the character, and they painted his face, or maybe because the time has passed.
They didn't even have to do too much because the brothers are very similar.
Very similar. So depending on how you want to do that, I can understand wanting to do that within the franchise. Look, I'm more interested in the story because here was a franchise I dearly loved. Like I said, Fast Five's the Citizen Kane of the Fast and Furious movies. I mean, I was a huge fan of this franchise. 9 and 10 were, to me, unwatchable. You know, we saw 9 in the theater.
Dude, I still remember us, you, me, Ann, and our buddy Cliff. It was a very early screening of it, very early screening. And you, me, Ann, and Cliff, we went to dinner first. And we were like, oh my God, this is going to be so good. We were so excited. We thought the trailers looked awesome. We were all so happy. And then I remember us walking out of the theater dead quiet. Like,
oh yeah. I mean, I've never,
We were so
never
sad.
seen a movie that whole opening, like there's a chase scene across this no man's land where bombs are going off.
Oh, that
and
was so bad.
I'm like, I don't think I've seen a movie that has, you know, the only other movie that lost me as much as Fast 9 was Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
Those two movies, I'm like, how do you? That's the 9th. Rise of Skywalker was the 9th Skywalker saga,
right.
and Fast 9 was the 9th Fast 9 movie. And they're two movies, the 9th movie in the franchises. Both of those are case studies in what not to do.
Somehow Brian has returned.
Yeah, I mean, God, both of those movies just horrific on every level.
So
And remember, in 9, Han Solo came back.
Han Solo came back.
That's right. That's right. He did. Short little appearance, but he did.
Terrible.
I try not to think about that movie at all. The more I think about it, it would seem weird when you're saying Brian is still alive in this world to end the franchise and not have Brian be a part of it,
Sure.
especially when the brother can step in and fill the role, especially when you can make him look very similar. And like you said, Rob, it really all depends on how much they use them and what they do with them. So yeah, I listen, I've come around to it. I'm okay with it if they do.
Sure. I mean, at this point, anything would be better
I
than
was
the
gonna
last
say,
two
how
movies.
can it make things worse?
No, it can't.
Because you can't get any worse than 9 and 10. So anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? My boy Vin is saying that they're going to bring back Brian. And maybe you're like me, and initially I was like, I kind of recoiled to that idea. But I got to admit, the more I think about it, I think it might be poetically appropriate to bring back the character for the final ride. I don't know. Whatever you guys are feeling about this, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this. You know, Apple TV has just straight up been killing it. Absolutely killing it. They launched, and I wrote them off. I did not think their introductory fanfare looked very good. I didn't think their initial offerings of shows looked all that good. But they have done almost nothing. A few little misses here and there, except crank out quality thing after quality thing after quality thing. And one of their best is Foundation. A high concept, highly visual, but highly philosophical kind of show that I honestly didn't think you could really make. I didn't, especially when you look at the original books and stuff like that. Like, how do you actually translate that onto screen and tell a coherent story?
Tough.
And they did it, man. And they made a fascinating, wonderful, arguably the best sci-fi show on television right now. It's just incredible. And now with season 3 coming, they've let television critics see the whole series, the whole season. And they're saying things like this, like the guys over Gizmodo, Foundation returns with its best season yet. They're saying the things they're doing with the genetic dynasty, the Cleon dynasty, they said is amazing because it's evolving. You got obviously a new dusk, a new day, a new dawn, all that kind of stuff. They're saying, you know, you're going to get Harry waking up from the 150 plus year slumber, getting ready to face the mule happening. Demerzel is still there. The last surviving robot from the human robot wars that everybody thinks is just a clone too. I mean, everything from the high concept sci-fi, the action when it's there, fabulous characters, incredible acting, and just this wide, like, pure diversity of nutty types of characters, all with their own storylines as well and how they all tie in together as they're hopscotching through time. How they hold this thing together narratively is completely beyond me. And now I haven't seen anything from season 3 yet other than the trailers, but without exception, Rob, every television guy I've read now that has seen it is saying 3 is amazing. Most of them saying it's the best one they've done yet. Anyway, what have your thoughts been on Foundation so far, and where's your anticipation level, and what are you expecting out of season 3?
Well, when I joined the science fiction book club way back when I was a young whippersnapper in elementary school, the Foundation trilogy was one of the first books that I got from them. And it was maybe a little over my head at 10 and 11, but I was fascinated by it. I was not a huge fan of season 1 of Foundation, but like you just said, it's impossible. It's an impossible thing.
It hooked me, man. I got to admit, it hooked me.
I watched it all, and I thought it was good, but it was kind of weird to, as somebody who came from the books. Season 2, I thought was really good. So I'm like, and my friend Bill Hunt from the Digital Bits, he had review copies. He's got review copies of the entire 3rd season. So
what did he say about it?
Well, he hasn't watched it. I think he's watched the first episode, but he's a huge, huge fan because he loves season 2. So he asked me to come down this next week and watch it all. Like we did the same thing for All Mankind. We watched the whole season at once, at his gigantic screen home theater, and he's over the moon. I can't wait for season 3. After watching season 2, and like you said, that was a tough nut to crack, and there was a lot of stuff in season 1 that I was engaged the whole time. I just was not. I didn't love it. I appreciate it. Season 2, I loved. Season 2, I thought it was like, wow, okay. So I can't wait for this, and to read this review or to see that this is, dude, I'm stoked because this is the kind of science fiction I love, and I hope it keeps going. And, For All Mankind is one of my favorite shows that's been airing, and they've been consistently, they keep renewing it. They're doing a spinoff for All Mankind. So Apple, they've been hit and miss with their sci-fi shows. Like I've said, Invasion was the most boring Invasion show.
Yeah, Invasion didn't work.
Yeah. But this, dude, I can't wait.
By the way, I got to say this. One of my favorite scenes in all of television the last 5-10 years. There's a scene where Cleon, Brother Day, they catch the girl who's been effing with them. And he walks with her into a park and they sit down and he starts to explain to her, we have tracked down your parents, aunts and uncles, grandparents, all the branches of your family tree, your neighbors, your friends, your coworkers, and their immediate connections. In total, 700 or 7,000 whatever people that you have touched their orbit. And he does this. He goes, we've just killed them all. It's as if you never existed. And that whole Lee Pace.
Oh, dude. He's so good.
Lee Pace is so good in this show. The fact that he hasn't been nominated for an Emmy for this show is kind of crazy to me. He is so good. And that scene when he just does they're all gone. Oh, and by the way, we're going to now, for the rest of your life, we're going to put you in a shroud where you can't see or hear anything. And you're going to be fed intravenously and restrained so you can't self-harm. And you're going to spend the next 50 years just living in nothingness. And like the way he delivers the lines is like, oh my God. Like it's such a good show. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? They're saying the reviews are now coming out for Foundation season 3. Not a highly viewed show, by the way. Doesn't have big ratings. Guys, watch Foundation. And you got time to get caught up before season 3 starts. Whatever you guys' thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? F1 opened this weekend, and it actually met its projections. It made of like 55 million domestically opening weekend. As expected, it did even better overseas, making like 80 plus million overseas for like 140 something worldwide opening weekend. Good on them for that. But that's not the headline we're here to talk about. Another movie opened this weekend called Megan 2.0. A movie you guys know I think was utterly terrible. And I say that as a fan of the first one. I really liked the first one. Now, the first one, the little kind of tongue-in-cheek horror film that could, made over $30 million on its opening weekend. Not so much for Megan 2.0. As the Box Office Mojo is reporting, that Megan 2.0 in its opening weekend came in 4th behind F1, behind How to Train Your Dragon, which is in its 3rd week, behind Elio, which is in its 2nd week, and it made like 66% less than what the first Megan made on its opening weekend with $10.2 million. Now, why did this movie make so much less when the first one is quite liked? People generally really like that first one, and it made $30 million opening weekend. I have thrice reasons, Robert. Thrice the reasons, thrice the fun.
Okay, I can't wait.
Reason number one that I think this one did so much poorly is the obvious one. This movie's terrible. and word got out that the movie's terrible. And it's really unfortunate because, again, I like the first one very much. And you had potential to do something really cool. So the movie's terrible. That clearly, definitely probably turned some people off when they heard about it. Secondly, was I like the trailers myself, but you can tell from the trailers it was a genre shift.
Yeah.
It was no longer a tongue-in-cheek horror film. Now it was a straight-up action comedy. And while I'm okay with that, as long as you make the action exciting and the comedy funny, they did neither. I think for a lot of people who were fans of the original Megan, maybe felt a little betrayed. It's like, we're horror fans, we're like the Blumhouse fans, we like the tongue-in-cheek horror aspect of it, and this movie doesn't look like it's going to be that. And maybe that's why ultimately some people decided to turn away from the film and not go to it. So number one, word of mouth was pretty negative. Number two, the genre shift may have put some people out and put some people off on it. The third one was the whole idea to grow Megan. She wasn't the little doll now. Now she's the 20-year-old going out to the bar to get shots Megan. I wonder if for a lot of people that felt like this isn't Megan anymore. Again, listen, when one movie opens to $30 million and it's well received and people like it, and then its sequel comes out to a third of what it made, you got to ask these questions. I don't know if I'm right about any of these three reasons or not, but again, this is pretty shocking. Again, this would not be confusing if the first Megan wasn't liked, but people liked the first Megan. The audiences liked it. The critics liked it. So anyway, Rob, what do you think about my three reasons? And what other reasons maybe would you add to why we're seeing Megan open so much lower than what the first one did?
Oh, first of all, I think all of your reasons are very astute. And here's what I think that I would add to this. I would add to your reasons. You can't set out to make a camp movie. Like, you can't make a Rocky Horror Picture Show on purpose. And I would say that part of Megan's success was the campy nature of a little bitchy doll that Megan was. Her dances, her moves. There's a certain audience that it appeals to. The audience that likes Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. Movies like Mommy Dearest, which I love, or Grey Gardens. Make of that what you will. That's what Megan's success was built on. But the people that made Megan are not those people. James Wan's a producer on it, obviously Jason Blum. And then the writer-director comes back, and they decided to go the other route, the non-campy route, and turn it into the Aliens or whatever action fest that they wanted to turn it into. They're going the Terminator route. That was the wrong way to go. You needed to lean into the campy nature of Megan. And I don't know what that was because, I haven't spent much time on it. But I know talking to Taylor Gonzalez loved Megan. And I would listen to him wax rhapsodic about it. And Megan 2.0 is not what he would have liked. Right. And I'm like, you can't. I understand the impulse to do it. But it's interesting when I think that people sometimes don't understand why something is successful. And to go in and to change this franchise, because I think this was surprisingly successful, and on streaming and on, I can only imagine those numbers were pretty big, and to go and try and change that, and who did you make this for? What audience did you make Megan for? Because this isn't the audience for the first Megan you're making it for, because you changed it.
Yeah.
So why did you do that? I'm always fascinated by that kind of thing. I think it's because the people that made the first Megan didn't understand why it was successful or connected. And otherwise, sequels, when you make a sequel to Die Hard, you want to hear John McClane say yippee-ki-yay, And if you didn't do that, that's the assignment. And you got to give me that. Unless you're in Live Free or Die Hard and you make it PG and he can't finish the sentence. But that's what people want to do, and that's what people want to have. They want to have that experience again, but bigger. But Megan, they changed it. They changed the whole premise.
And they tried to do a direct Terminator 2 ripoff.
Yeah.
Where, okay, now she's back, but now she's fighting for the good guys. But there's another robot that's even more deadly that she's going to have to fight off against. But the problem was, like, the thing that made, like you were saying, the first Megan work was that this little doll as the antagonist, as the horror object, and then they completely, now she's a hero. Now she's funny and she's singing love songs. And it's like,
and Megan's the bitchy vixen. You know, she's the woman that you hate her, but you love her. You know, and in this, you turn that character into a hero and don't give her the campy aspects of her, then it just becomes not good. And you know what? Proof's in the pudding.
yeah.
Proof is in that box office for Megan to screw it up that badly. That's on them. That's on them.
Let me ask you this. Can you see, because there were talks of them doing Megan spinoffs. There, just as recently, a couple of months ago, they were talking about shit, and I think they might, I could be wrong about this. I think they might have even already be shooting a Megan spinoff. I don't know. And they were talking already about doing a Megan 3 with a $10 million opening. Do you see them still proceeding with that, or is this something they're going to have to put the brakes on? What do you think?
I think they're going to have to put the brakes on and reassess. I mean, Companion was a better Megan 2 than Megan 2.0.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, in terms of like, you want to see an evolution of where to go, but it's just, you could have made it, Companion could have been more psychotic, and you could have made it Megan 2. But it's just, I don't like to see this happen. I don't like to see franchises falter. If you're going to have a franchise, I want Blumhouse to make money. You know, I don't, it's too bad. It's a bummer.
It's hard to come out with an original film that clicks and works like Megan did, and then for it to, I don't know. I just think it's a real shame. It's a shame. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Megan 2.0 opened with $10 million when the first one opened with over $30 million. Why do you think? I mean, remember, the first one was liked. People really enjoyed that film. Why did nobody come back for the second one? We've offered some theories. What would you add to that? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this. Before the time comes that we all identify Tom Holland as James Bond, lest we forget he is still currently our Spider-Man. And he's got some loose lips. And now a report has come out of the press here that Tom Holland has just confirmed that they are about to start production on Spider-Man Brand New Day. They're about to start production on Spider-Man Brand New Day. Now, there is a couple of big questions surrounding the film, particularly when it comes to timing. Because remember, Spider-Man Brand New Day was positioned that it was going to come out after Avengers Doomsday. Since then, Avengers Doomsday has pushed back the release date 6-7 months to December. And we still have Spider-Man Brand New Day sitting on its release date of July 31st, 2026. That now means, theoretically speaking, that Spider-Man Brand New Day is going to come out before Avengers Doomsday. Okay, let's assume for a minute that Sony, remember, this is all Sony's decision, it's their movie. Sony right now, as of this recording, is keeping that July 31st, 2026 release date. That means this movie is supposed to come out a little over a year from now. 13 months from now, this movie is supposed to be out. Now, that means that work on Spider-Man Brand New Day has actually started probably 5 months ago, probably 5-6 months ago. The storyboarding, the animatics, the costume design, the creation, the set construction, locationing, all that kind of stuff, all ready for them to start rolling cameras. Probably a lot of the visual effects have already been done, even before they start rolling cameras. A lot of work's been done. So, Rob, it's not surprising to hear with this movie coming out in 13 months. Well, they got to start production here soon. Let me ask you this. What do you think right now as far as the release date of Spider-Man Brand New Day goes? Because, you know, my thought process is if you were going to move it, you announce the move when they announced the move of Avengers Doomsday. It's now been weeks since they did that. We're still sitting with this July thing. Do you think they are going to keep this July 31st, 2026 release date? Or are you expecting at some point with production now starting that they may move it after Doomsday after all, maybe move it into 2027? How do you see this playing out?
I think they're going to keep the release date.
I'm thinking so too, actually.
And I think it's really smart that they do. Now, I don't know, through internet osmosis, you know, it's my understanding that this movie takes place concurrently to Doomsday. Like it was always going to take place concurrently to Doomsday. What this does is it gives Doomsday now a lead-in, which it didn't have before.
That's true, yeah.
You know, so you have a movie the last Spider-Man movie made $2 billion. You know, and you've got the Punishers in this movie, Hulk is in this movie, you know, and there's who knows what's going to happen. But this movie has enough of a really interesting premise in that nobody knows who Peter Parker is. What's he going to do? He has to start his life all over again. I love all that. That's going to make for interesting, compelling superhero drama.
And by the way, to your point, with Doomsday now moving to December of 2026, if they did move Spider-Man Brand New Day after that, we would be getting Fantastic Four in July and then literally waiting a year and a half before there was another Marvel Cinematic Universe film in theaters if they moved it.
And whatever takes place concurrently, I think that they've been afforded an opportunity. Look, the fact that Doomsday is filming right now, and they know what they're going to make. These Marvel movies, it's not like they just started from scratch. They've been developing this story.
You mean like the Star Wars sequels?
Yeah, right. They had their visual design team working on what they're doing. They are now, the same way they were able to shoot that Avengers tag on Thunderbolts, the post-credit scene with the Avengers that the Russo brothers directed. They now have a really great opportunity as they extend the Doomsday shooting that they can caress this movie, however they're going to do it. They're offered a great opportunity to tee up Doomsday in a way that they didn't have before by giving us some banger climax or banger post-credit scene, whatever they're going to do. They give us a great Spider-Man story, and then whatever is happening, they can lead us into it with this movie in a way that they can leave us breathlessly waiting to see Doomsday, where before Doomsday didn't have that. We're going to get Fantastic Four and then wait a year to see Doomsday. I mean, that's great, but in this way, their next thing, they now get Spider-Man to get everybody excited again about the MCU after Fantastic Four. You have not a gimmicky character. You have one of the most beloved superheroes in the world in their fourth movie coming off of No Way Home with the Punisher, with the Hulk, with whatever the hell else is going on. And if they make the movie great, it could make another $2 billion and lead you right in to Avengers Doomsday. So I think it's probably, for the MCU itself, the best alternative. As a matter of fact, it's probably better than having to wait for it because now you've got something to lead you in that's a bona fide hit that people already love.
And you know what? I've always thought, I remember we had this discussion a while ago. I always thought even when Doomsday was going to come out prior to Spider-Man Brand New Day, I never believed that Spider-Man Brand New Day was going to take place after the events of Doomsday. I always thought it was going to end up being like an Ant-Man 2 situation.
Yeah.
Where Ant-Man 2 came out after Infinity War, but the big chunk, almost the entire movie takes place before the events. And I always thought that's what was going to be with Spider-Man Brand New Day anyway. So this kind of just puts it more in line sequentially.
Yeah, and you know, what better way? I can't imagine having a better marketing tool than a Spider-Man movie to lead you into the new Avengers movie.
It offers you the opportunity of like a post-credit scene now that's like
it could be the most meaningful yet.
Yeah.
You know?
It gives them a lot of opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean, if Sony decides to do that, I'm sure they will. I'm sure they'll let Marvel put that in there. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What are your thoughts on this? Tom Holland is now saying they're about to start production on Spider-Man Brand New Day, which they better because the movie is supposedly coming out 13 months from today. 13 months from today. Now, obviously, they're not about to just start work. They've obviously probably been working on this for months and months and months. Now they're just going to do the filming part. But What are you feeling about this? Are you feeling they're going to keep that July release date of 2026? Do you feel like they might move it into 2027? Whatever you guys are thinking, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, there are a couple of movies coming out in 2026 that we are all just kind of losing our minds over. One of which we're going to talk about in a minute with Project Hail Mary. But the other one, you've always got to stop the presses when Christopher Nolan's got a new film coming out. And of course, he's got the Odyssey. And this cast is, I'm not going to say the most stacked cast in history, but it's up there. Matt Damon. Academy Award, well, first of all, Academy Award winner Matt Damon. Academy Award winner Charlize Theron. Academy Award winner Lupita Nyong'o. John Bernthal. Academy Award winner Anne Hathaway. Tom Holland. Robert Pattinson. Cosmo Jarvis from Shogun. Zendaya. Mia Goth. Elliot Page. Ryan Hurst. Corey Hawkins. Benny Safdie. I mean, and we've already got some set pictures and all that kind of stuff. Well, now we've got our first poster. Like a year before this movie comes out, we've got our first poster. The Odyssey, Defy the Gods, is out there now. Now, I'm not normally somebody who gets all that excited about a first poster dropping. But here's where I find this interesting, Rob. In the world of modern movie marketing, what usually comes pretty close after a poster gets dropped? A trailer.
A trailer.
That's just, again, that's not a rule, but that is generally what we see happen in the world of film and the film marketing, is that once a poster drops, it's usually very shortly after that a trailer drops. Now, we are a long way away from the Odyssey coming out. But then again, we're also a long way away from Project Hail Mary coming out, and we just got that trailer, which we'll talk about in a second. So, Rob, you and I seem to be of the belief that in February or March of 2027, when the 2027 Academy Awards happening, the two frontrunners for Best Picture, totally sight unseen, but our guess is going to be a race between Project Hail Mary and the Odyssey.
100%.
You have a chance to see the poster. Not much there. It's a severed statue head and Defy the Gods, the Odyssey. What do you think we're actually about to get a trailer? Like, do you think maybe they're going to play tit for tat with Project Hail Mary? It's like, oh, you're putting out a trailer? Okay, then here's a poster. Or do you think we're still probably 4 months away from getting our first trailer for this?
No, I think we will get a teaser of some kind. I think, the month of July is a banger month in terms of high-profile projects. You've got Fantastic Four. You've got, and it's going to be, I wouldn't be surprised, John, what comes out this week?
Jurassic.
And what company made Jurassic?
Universal.
And who's releasing the Odyssey?
Universal.
So there you go. I mean,
I didn't even connect those dots. That's a good point.
I mean, it's, and it's, I think that Universal, look, while we can talk about the Rotten Tomato scores of Jurassic and stuff, I don't care. I think dinosaur movies where dinosaurs eat people are pretty much critic proof. People are going to go. And I know you and I are not keen on the film, but I think a lot of people are going to go and probably enjoy it for what it is. But it's Universal's. It's a big July release for them. Comes out this week. And the Odyssey, coming off of Oppenheimer, they're a $900 million grossing Oscar contender that won Oscars. Yep. I mean, this is when you drop a trailer. And the kids today, I think kids, there's epic poetry that you haven't read. Remember the movie Troy? This is a sequel to that. So, Odysseus is going to go home. It's going to be great. And I think that this is the kind of thing. It's kind of like the Lord of the Rings when they first did the announcement trailer, when they announced that they were going to do all 3 movies and they were going to come out in the dates. Mm-hmm. That was like a year in advance. I could totally see this. And you know what it'll do? It'll be like an announcement trailer, what you just did, showing who's going to be in this movie, looking badass. And they'll probably have a tag with some giant creature or war.
Well,
or
there's 4 or 5 Academy Award winners in this cast.
Yeah, so they'll drop that out and they'll lead up. I'm sure they've designed a mark, because remember, this is a sword and sandal movie, and it's not the genre that everyone loves these days. And this is Christopher Nolan, so, and if Universal's got it, they should flaunt it.
All right, guys. Question is for you. The new Christopher Nolan movie, The Odyssey, with one of the most stacked casts we've ever seen, has just put out their first poster. In the movie world, that's normally followed pretty soon by a trailer. Do you think we're about to get an Odyssey teaser? Maybe yes, maybe no. Whatever your thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? One of the biggest and best things, and we saw a lot of great things at CinemaCon this year, but one of the biggest, best things and most biggest surprise for me was this 8, 9, 10-minute preview they showed us of the new Lord and Miller film starring Ryan Gosling, good Canadian kid, Project Hail Mary. Something Rob had been telling me forever. This is going to be great because the book is awesome, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool, whatever. And they showed us this preview. And my jaw dropped.
Not this preview that everyone's
Not
seeing.
the one that we just put up, but they showed us this 8, 9, 10-minute preview. And my jaw dropped. I couldn't believe what I saw. And I remember I said to Rob, I get it now. I get what you're talking about. I see what you've been talking about. This thing looked so good. So it's been with great excitement that we found out a few days ago that they were going to drop the first trailer for Project Hail Mary today, because we've been so excited about you guys to get your first glimpse of it. My first thought is, I feel bad for everybody that there is so much we saw that you guys haven't gotten to see yet. Because if you think this trailer is good, and it is, oh, I wish you could have seen the full thing they showed us, man. Like, even more context and more lines and more shots. But Rob, this trailer dropped, and I remember I watched it first and I had that thought, oh man, there's so much they didn't show in this trailer that we did see. Then I said, okay, reset it, blank my mind out, pretend I'm watching this for the first time, watched it, and the trailer's remarkable. They leaned more into the alien than I thought they would.
Well, yeah, I'll wait till you.
But yeah, anyway, I love the trailer. Again, I do love what they showed us at CinemaCon more, because there was a lot more, like triple what they showed us here in this. But you had a chance to see the trailer. What are your thoughts on it?
Okay, it's a fine trailer. Here's what I disliked about it. And if you see the headline in Variety about this trailer dropping, it says Variety calls this movie a comedy. And this trailer...
Yeah, nobody else did. Nobody else called it that, but Variety,
Variety
did in
called
their
it a
headline.
comedy.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about what we saw at CinemaCon.
By the way, Variety's not seen the film.
Right.
Yeah.
At CinemaCon, what this movie shows you, just like the book, is it's wildly entertaining, and the comedy is great, but it also is full of awe and wonder.
Yeah.
And
this dread.
And dread.
A lot of dread.
And dread. Apocalyptic dread. This movie makes it look like a kind of an entertaining, fun little romp with, at the end, an extraterrestrial that'll give you a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And I think they've done a tremendous disservice to... No, it's a great trailer. It's fun to watch. But they did not bring the awe and wonder, and they did not bring the apocalyptic dread in this film, because they made it look like, yeah, you gotta know he's gonna go into space and fix it all up. No, I mean, they have the woman who starred in Anatomy of a Fall, playing opposite him. And they even made it look like the scientists, they have the chorus when they answer.
Right.
When the chorus of scientists go, no. And it makes it look like it's kind of a fun little romp, where the thing about Project Hail Mary is, one, it is wildly entertaining. It is incredibly fun. The book is incredibly fun, but it also has true peril, and the stakes are as big as they can get. As
big as they come.
And they made the Ryan Gosling character look too, funny. The fact is, the poor guy is completely out of his depth, and he thinks he's going to die. And yes, the extraterrestrial component in it, when you saw it at CinemaCon, that was the awe and the wonder. Something's coming. They made everything in this look too lightweight. It didn't, I know it's just a trailer, but it didn't balance It didn't give you the balance. What they showed us at CinemaCon left everybody stunned.
I cannot emphasize this enough. What they showed us at CinemaCon, the full presentation, which again was like triple of what we got here, was so awe-inspiring, jaw-droppingly fantastic, and again, really communicated the seriousness of the situation, broken up with levity and laughs in it, and they build the tension, and it's just, you just feel the weight of everything. And that's why when I first watched the trailer, I'm like, people aren't going to get what we got at CinemaCon,
that's exactly what
they tried to boil it down just to 3 minutes, and it's not. I still like the trailer, but it does not click nearly as well as that presentation they gave us at CinemaCon.
And also, when he goes, "I met an alien today," what you're doing, and then the way they showed Rocky, we know they trivialized it, and they made it. What is he, a dog?
See, in the CinemaCon presentation, when he does that thing of, "I met an alien today," it hit different.
It hit way
because we had way more context to it,
and when you see the ship and it was giant, and it was look and having look, I can only say that reading this book, as I've told you before, I read this book in one sitting, and it was wildly entertaining. It has a lot of humor in it, yes. But the humor is offset with the fact that the peril is completely ramped up. By the way, this trailer only deals with like the first 6 chapters of the book.
Right.
They should only work within that, because to show more is to ruin what happens. And it's an amazing story. But I just hate the fact that they turn, if humanity is meeting an extraterrestrial civilization for the first time, don't trivialize it with a thumbs up or thumbs down. That to me is terrible studio thinking. This should be a moment of awe and wonder, not a moment to tell jokes.
And you know what? In the presentation at CinemaCon, they didn't show us the alien.
No.
We know he met an alien, hence I met an alien today.
You just saw what might be something.
Yeah, there's something in the background a little bit. They should not have put that in the trailer.
No. And you know what? This is where studios and marketing departments, when they rely on the past, they're like, no, we don't know if the audience is going to know what we're doing. The audience is way smarter than you know. And whoever put that presentation together for Amazon at CinemaCon, they knew what was up.
They nailed it.
I guarantee
they nailed it.
I bet it was a different company.
Yeah, probably a different company.
Or that company was given notes. We have to make it funny.
Now, to be fair, at CinemaCon, they had like 10 minutes to show us what they wanted to show us, right?
Yes, they did.
It's easier. It is an easier job to say, give us an 8, 9, 10-minute presentation, and then say, now take 2/3 of that out and still make it impressive for us to. It's going to be difficult to make it feel nearly as impressive as they did, but that's the thing. I watched this trailer again. I like the trailer. I do. But all I can think about is, it so pales compared to what they showed us.
Yes.
Because, guys, what they showed us is next level.
Right.
Like, you and I were both bubbling about it.
And I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
You know, I had read this book and knew it was coming. And to me, it was this trailer. I really hope that the studio, you know, whether that World of Real story was true and they showed a 3-hour cut and everyone loved it, I could see the studio making the mistake, because it's Lord Miller, of leaning into the comedy. And one of the things that impressed me so much about that CinemaCon footage is that Lord and Miller understood both.
Yeah, they knew the job.
They knew the job. They knew the assignment. And look, there's some epic shots. They show you the aircraft carrier in this. They show you the oil tanker going through so you know that there's a global scope to this movie. There is scope to it. It has a globe-trotting nature to it. And I just thought that and I get it, man. I get it. They probably leaned into the comedy because they're scared, because they don't know, because nobody at the studio, nobody will go with their gut. They'll always we have to second guess ourselves. We have to make the audience think it's funny. So they're going to. No, they knew the assignment at CinemaCon, and this trailer, this is my pick for Best Picture. I'm going all in on this, but I don't want the studio to screw it up. And I can see they will. However, I bet on Sue Kroll, who is she was at marketing, and she's a genius. And I think that Sue Kroll will bring us through. Come on, Sue.
Well, see, I think you're misrepresenting yourself. I don't think that you believe that the studio is going to screw up the movie. I think you're afraid they're going to screw up the marketing of this movie.
Both.
Because we saw a chunk of this movie and we loved what we saw.
Yes, it's true. But when you read cards, I really liked how funny it is. And you can't second guess them. You know what this movie is? It has nothing to do with the tone of this movie. But this film, it makes people feel what Shawshank Redemption feels. I know Shawshank Redemption is a prison movie and it should be, but you watch the movie. It's a long journey. It's not a short film.
Right.
It takes you on an epic journey, and by the end, your heartstrings are touched. And when you get to the end, it's what now, and you see Andy Dufresne and you see Red reunited, there's not a dry eye in the house. I guarantee you, this movie can work on audiences the way that movie does too, and they have nothing to do with each other.
Right.
But in terms of populist fiction, you had Stephen King writing, and you had Andy Weir coming off The Martian. This has Martian vibes, but it also has an E.T. sense of wonder in it.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think about this? Did you see the trailer for Project Hail Mary? If so, what did you think? I still think it was a good trailer, but it just doesn't live up to what we saw. And granted, they had a lot more time to show us a lot more stuff at CinemaCon. I was really kind of hoping they could capture that amazing experience in a 2 to 3 minute trailer. I don't know. Whatever you guys think about it, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, it's time for us to move on to the most important part of our show, which is, of course, taking your live comments and questions. But before we do, we'll bid adieu again to Robert Meyer Burnett. Rob, thanks again. Great job as always.
Thank you very much, Project Hail Mary. Don't sleep on it.
And as we get ready to read your questions, we're going to take a quick second here, guys, and thank the sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at Stitch Fix. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of this video, Stitch Fix. Let's be honest, shopping is not my thing. I've wasted way too much of my time either in stores or scrolling for clothes, only to end up with stuff that doesn't fit or just, doesn't work. See, that's why I use Stitch Fix. You take a quick style quiz, your size, your vibe, your budget, and boom, you're paired with a real human stylist who curates pieces just for you. They send you a fix box with clothes actually fit for your life. Stuff you'll wear to work, on weekends, or wherever. It saves me time, helps me look great, and I never have to step foot in a store. You try everything on at home, keep what works, and send back the rest. Free shipping and returns, no subscription required. Oh, and your first fix? The try-on is totally free. So if you're tired of the endless shopping grind, this is your sign to try Stitch Fix. Seriously, it's style without the stress. Head to stitchfix.com/Campea to get $20 off your first order, and they'll waive your styling fee. That's stitchfix.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at Stitch Fix for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show. All right, guys, with that down, let's get on to the important stuff. Your topics and questions. Jonathan, what we got up first?
We're going to go with this one first. Hello. Why'd I lose this? Sorry about that, guys. For some reason, I lost the activity feed. There it is.
It's Monday.
Yeah. So first up, we got Sivako, who says, saw Megan 2.0 last night. Movie start time, according to Regal, was 7:40. Ads, not trailers, played until 7:53. That's like 13 minutes. Trailers ended at 8:10, and a Google ad played in between the trailers too. I love going to the theater, but this is ridiculous.
Yeah, I think he might have doubled that up because I think I addressed this one last week. But yeah, again, I won't go into my whole rant again. But again, to me, the whole concept is simply this. You want to show us 25 to 30 minutes of ads, that's fine. Show us the movie for free. This show is a free show to watch. The John Campea Show is free to watch. You can just turn on YouTube for free, watch the show. In return, we play ads that helps us generate revenue. But you get the show for free. When you're paying $15, $18, $20 for a movie ticket, movie theaters have no business making you watch 20, 30 minutes of ads for us. It's just ridiculous. All right, what's next?
Let's see. I'm going to scroll up here a little bit. We got Jake G, who says, I keep hearing people say how remakes ruin their childhood or complain about the new Harry Potter or live action Disney remakes. Can't they just, not watch it? The OG doesn't get erased. Why can't they just ignore?
It's honestly, I've always thought this. It's one of the most ignorant statements I hear some movie fans say. It ruined. No, it didn't. That movie's still there. It's still there. Listen, some of the greatest films of all times are remakes, but a lot of remakes are terrible. But who cares? If the remake is terrible, oh well. It's just like any other terrible movie. We put it away and we forget about it, and we just appreciate the original. I have yet to see one original film that was lessened by its remake. I went back and watched the original again. Thought, nope, just as good as it always was. So yeah, stop your crying and just get over it. If the movie's bad, say this movie's bad. This movie's terrible. It's bad, awful. I'm going to go back and watch the original again. Great, but just leave it at that because it's one of the stupidest things that I hear some people say. All right, what's next?
Ghazi says, Leo DiCaprio is absolutely my favorite actor. Do you think he will ever be in MCU or DCU at some point? And what do you think, a hero or a villain?
No. The answer is no. I don't think he'll ever be in an MCU
He's
or a
been
DC
pretty
film.
vocal about that.
Now, granted, he's such a student of Scorsese, and Scorsese just can't stop himself from just insulting comic book films and anybody who watches them. So I doubt it, but you never know. Like, let's say at some point a Christopher Nolan decides he does want to do a comic book movie again. Or if Denis Villeneuve decided after Bond he wants to do a Batman film. I don't know. That could be enough to lure DiCaprio out, but honestly, other than something extreme like that, I just don't see it happening. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, hey, John, Colin here from Toronto. Thanks for the great content. I saw Echo Valley on Apple TV+. What a great mystery thriller with Julianne Moore. Not predictable at all. Did you have a chance to check it out? I highly recommend.
I have no interest in it. Now, are we talking about the one where what's her name is playing her daughter? Why am I freezing on? She was just in Madam Web.
Oh, right.
Sydney Sweeney. That's it.
Yes.
I think that's the one with Sydney Sweeney. I'll be honest with you. I have no interest in it. I love Julianne Moore. I saw the trailer. I thought this looks utterly boring and predictable. So yeah, no, I'm not interested. I'm not going to watch it. Not interested.
Gavin,
all right, what's next?
Gavin is back, says super pumped for this double feature weekend to kickstart the movie marathon for the next month, seeing 28 years later tonight. And this is 3 days ago, but tonight and F1 and 40X. Tomorrow with JP next, that's Jurassic Park. Friday, Soups, the following. How to Train Your Dragon the next, with F4 to conclude it all. Wow, busy.
Yeah. Again, I was disappointed in 28 years later. It's not a bad movie. Don't get me wrong. It's not a bad movie, but it did not live up to its potential. Like I thought it looked much better than it actually ended up being. F1 is great. I had a ball watching F1. That was a really, really fun. Jurassic Park, pretty disappointing. Again, it has its moments. Jurassic Park has some great sequences that are really fun, but that's unfortunately only about 20 minutes out of the 2 hour and 20-minute runtime. But yeah, man, 8 days. We are 8 days away from Superman. At least the advanced Amazon fan screening thing is on July 8th. We are 8 days away, 1 week from tomorrow. I cannot wait. All right, what's next?
We got Anonymous is probably a bad idea. It won't happen, but always a great way to start an idea. But I would love for a Transformers No Way Home. Imagine Shia LaBeouf, Mark Wahlberg, Haley Steinfeld, Anthony Ramos all together. Plus Transformers is already sci-fi, so multiverse wouldn't be out of it. It wouldn't have to be multiverse.
That is a horrible idea.
But it wouldn't have to be multiverse.
It wouldn't have to be multiverse. They're all in the same word.
Yeah.
But no, terrible idea. That sounds like one big, awful, convoluted mess that there's nothing redeeming about. Like, listen, there might be other people watching and think that idea sounds great and like great for thinking out of the box. I think that sounds terrible. I think that sounds completely terrible.
Well, when Shia and Wahlberg combine, they create a force unstoppable. Like they do a high five, freeze frame high five, like in the 80s. And they become this unstoppable force.
Now listen, I don't mind the idea of Shia coming back. I don't mind the idea of, but pick a lane. Like the Mark Wahlberg Transformers movies were utter gutter trash. And Bumblebee, that deserves to just with Haley, that just deserves its own pure sequel. Like all this, bring them all. No, that would be monumentally terrible. I think so. No, I'm going to take a no on that one.
I knew I was out when Mark Wahlberg's daughter's boyfriend was explaining to Mark's character why this isn't quite statutory rape, and he has actually no legal right to stop them from having sex.
I'm like, is this movie serious right now?
I mean, he would have just thrown him off the edge of a.
He would have murdered him.
Yeah.
He would have killed him. He would have straight up any dad would have straight up murdered that dude, and no judge in the world would have convicted him of a crime. All right, what's next?
Formula One says, did you see F1 in D-Box? 2.5 hours seems like too long for moving seats. I'm still dealing with PTSD from seeing Horizon, an American Saga in D-Box. This is like 40X, I guess. My theater replaced the seats with saddles. My thighs are still red.
I can't even imagine. You know what? I pledged I was going to go see F1 in 4DX, but to see it on the day that I saw it, it wasn't available in 4DX. So we went to go to another theater. I still want to go back and watch F1 again, though, in 4DX. I really do. I can't imagine how much of a bumpy ride it's going to be, no pun intended, but I really do want to watch that movie in 4DX. Yeah. All right, what's next?
Australian Jedi, with the success of The Last of Us, are you surprised Hollywood hasn't tried adapting the Red Dead Redemption video games yet? HBO or Netflix could easily get 3 seasons.
Can I just stop there a second? I'm sorry. It always makes me chuckle whenever somebody says easy.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's easy. Everybody who can't do something thinks the things they can't do is easy. First of all, there's nothing easy about it. Anyway, please go ahead.
Just go out and do it. HBO or Netflix could easily get 3 seasons out of RDR2.
Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah. Alone with the main story, and some of the side quests turn into subplots.
Here's the big challenge is that, you know what doesn't seem to work today? Western content. When's the last time we had a Western that was a big blockbuster box office hit? Mm-hmm. The aforementioned, there was a great fanfare that Kevin Costner was doing this Horizon American, whatever it was. And
Fievel Goes West, I think.
Horizon Fievel Goes West.
Yeah.
Part 1, 2, and 3. And it tanked. And I see like Dingus McNally seeing lots of, but Red Dead Redemption is huge.
Then it could get muddled. And
you know what else is huge? Pokemon. Pokemon's huge. It's a much bigger global IP than Red Dead Redemption is, but its movie couldn't make any money.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody think, if something is popular, that means the movie will make a lot of money. That's not the way the math works. I mean, it's just, we've seen that over and over and over and over again. That's not the way the math works. Like, look, do I think at some point somebody is going to make Red Dead Redemption? I do. But if you're wondering about why hasn't it happened yet, my guess is, and I could be dead wrong about this, but my guess is it's because you're going to have a hard time pitching in a executive boardroom right now, the people you want to pay for it, that Western can make a lot of money. Of course, there have been Westerns that made money, but most of them don't today. And so my guess is that's the holdup. It probably is. Anyway, but I do still think it'll get made at some point. I do. And I'll be looking forward to it. All right, what's next?
Jerry says, hey, John, love the show. I'm dangerously confident in Superman. I don't see any way it'll be bad, and that's scary. Have you ever felt that way about a movie before seeing it? P.S. Whatever happened to the joke about sending Rob your scripts? That was funny.
No, it wasn't. And it was funny the first 45 times. So, but then,
we crossed 46 and we stopped.
It's kind of like still saying, why aren't we still saying, where's the beef? Or wasabi?
Wasabi.
Half the people watching this don't even know those references. Yeah. I remember. Now, nobody else was as pumped, but me, I was convinced that this crime thriller coming out called Gangster Squad was going to be the shit. I thought
that was the next LA Confidential, honestly.
Yeah, it was. This movie had Best Picture written all over it. Sean Penn, I think Ryan Gosling was in it.
Ryan Gosling.
Yeah, a huge cast. Huge. Emma Stone.
Actually, Anthony Mackie was in it too.
Yeah, massive. Incredible cast. Solid director. The trailers look great. I was not only so confident that it was going to be awesome,
Josh Brolin.
I was already writing its name into my Oscar ballot. It was going to be a Best Picture. It was going to be. Man, it rarely have I walked into a movie. Like, obviously, I was more disappointed in The Rise of Skywalker, but going into The Rise of Skywalker, I knew the potential was there that it could suck. With Gangster Squad, no chance. No, it wasn't even a remote possibility in my head that this movie was going to be anything less than an all-time great film, and it ended up being garbage. So that's the one for me. That's the one for me. All right, what's next?
We got where is it? Say My Name. I see it doubled up. Everyone is wondering who will play Bond. Another vote for Cavill, but I too am more excited about the side characters. Sorry, John. Here's my X Actor X role. M. Gary Oldman, Q. Matt Smith, and Moneypenny Lily James. You can't go wrong with those actors. Make Chalamet the villain.
Look, again, it's you do any X actor and X role as long as you're listing talented actors. Sure.
Yeah. Let's say,
So I can make any list and throw in all these names of great actors, and sure. Yeah, Gary Oldman is M. Sure. Matt Smith is Q. Sure. Them and 50 other names would be really good. But yes, if they were to make that, those would all be names I'd totally be down for. 100%. The bigger question, though, is who's going to play Bond? And obviously it's not going to be Cavill. If they are looking for under 30, that unfortunately puts Cavill out of the running. And I understand. I mean, I would have loved to have seen Cavill as a Bond, but hey, the dude's in his 40s now. If you're looking to start your Bond who's in his mid to late 20s, he's out of the running for that. I get it. Go with the character comes first before the actor. So we'll see how that all turns out. All right, what's next?
All right, well, Konami Man has the greatest way to piss off the most amount of comic book fans here. Could Doom in the coming movies not be a Tony variant, but a Tony AI that is looking to complete the suit of armor on the world idea? And Doom is an acronym, like the AI Edith was, like Death Officer's Omnipotence to me, or something like that. If you make him a software program.
I saw the Edith thing, even dead, I'm the hero. I might shock you. I don't hate the idea.
Boy, I do.
Listen, it wouldn't be my pick. It wouldn't be my choice. But the idea that it is somehow the continuations of Tony's vision of building a suit of armor around the world. Because remember, what did Robert Downey Jr. say when he took off the mask at Comic-Con? He said, new mask, same task.
Right.
Well, what was the task? Building a suit of armor around the world. I don't think it's the most far-fetched thing, but I think Jonathan's also right. I mean, that's something that could go wrong a million different ways, but again, not the most ridiculous thing I've heard today. All right, what's next?
JP says, hey, John, been a minute since I tuned in, but did you hear that the Me and My Friends Backyardigans pilot leaked last night? Finally, after years of searching, people sent threats to get it covered for years, but someone finally leaked it.
I have no idea what that is.
I don't know what Me and My Friends is.
Never heard of it. Don't know anything about it. All right, what's next?
Dylan. Hey, John, I was wondering if you have seen not only that Michael Bay is rumored to be coming back. I hate that idea. He's talking about Transformers, but also Josh Cooley to return as well. I love that idea to do a live action Transformers film, but also the G.I. Joe crossover and 2 others in development.
No, that was not a part of it. By the way, I don't know who Josh Clooney is.
Josh Cooley. Huh. I'll have to look that up.
I don't know who that is. I probably should know who it is, but I don't know who it is off the top of my head. No, the actual report, that was all stuff that's speculation that people added onto it. But the main thing was that look, it never said that Paramount has tapped him to do it. It just said that Michael Bay has been developing one. He hired a writer to come on, but it's again, I really got to caution everybody on this. That doesn't mean that Paramount has greenlit it or okayed it. So I don't know. We'll see where that goes. I just think it's a really bad idea. So Patrick in the live chat is saying Josh is the director of Transformers 1, which I love Transformers 1. I thought Transformers 1 is the Transformers movie I'd been waiting my whole life for. I thought it was fantastic. But yeah, Michael Bay coming back is just a bad, and I don't believe we're actually going to get that G.I. Joe Transformers crossover. I really don't. The Rise of the Beast movie just did not do. I mean, it did exactly how well we thought it was going to do, but I don't think it did as well as they thought it was going to do. All right, what's next?
We got Fig says, "You're my number one favorite movie show.
Thank you, man.
Want a Kevin and Smith to make. I want Kevin and Smith. I want Kevin Smith to make a horror comedy like Jay and Silent Bob. Meet the Jersey Devil in the vein of old Abbott and Costello. Meet Frankenstein. It'd be a little more crass, I'm sure. There's nowhere else to go with those characters these days."
I am a huge Kevin Smith fan. I love Kevin Smith. There is nowhere left for those characters to go, period. And listen, they're two of the great characters. But every character, at some point, you run out of what you can do with them. And I think that you've run out of room there with that. As far as little horror movies, Kevin's dipped his toe in there. What was the one called? Red State?
Yeah.
And
I was thinking Tusk. Yeah.
Tusk? Listen, that's a weird movie, man.
Yeah.
Tusk is a weird movie, but I
like it,
kind
though.
of dig it.
Yeah, I like it.
So he's dipped his toe in that before, and so he definitely could, but I would rather see him take a shot at another horror movie than include Jay and Silent Bob in it. Again, I love those characters, but their time has come and gone a long time ago, I think. So yeah, I would rather just see him take a swing at another horror film. All right, what's next?
Anonymous, hey John, hoping for Superman greatness. You said everyone you talked to loved it, except for a couple. How many did you talk that loved it? A few or quite a bit?
I'm not going to talk too much about that. Let's just say the number of people I've talked to that have either really liked it or absolutely loved it exceeded the number of fingers that I have. That's all I'm going to say. That's the most of that. I've talked to one person that thought it was okay. And then I talked to one person who totally hated it. So that's the ratio. So, I did open mic yesterday and a bunch of people were asking me, what do you think that the Rotten Tomatoes is going to be on it? My guess is, and I have nothing to base this on other than the few people I've talked to. My guess is that Superman will come in between 80 and 90%. That's where I think it's going to live. I don't think it'll get into the 95 range, but I don't think it's going to get down to the 70. So I think it's probably going to be somewhere between 80 and 90%, which is great, which would be awesome. So we'll see if that's what actually happens. All right, what's next?
We got Mad Dolphin says, if Superman turns out to be great, does James Gunn become the GOAT of comic book movie directors? Others in that conversation for me are Sam Raimi, Bryan Singer, Nolan, and the Russos.
It's hard to say no, because you got this tremendously successful trilogy of films he did with Guardians of the Galaxy that ended on hey, listen, as much as we all worship the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy, it ended on a little bit of a weaker note. Guardians of the Galaxy ended on a massive high note, and then he did this weird, obscure little thing with the Suicide Squad, and he made a great movie out of that. And he made Peacemaker, which is a television show, not a movie, but still. So and that's a big if Superman is awesome, does he get in that conversation? Yeah, I'll say yes. Because even Raimi made a bad Spider-Man movie. James Gunn hasn't made a bad comic book movie yet. And if Superman is great, and again, that's a big if, it may not turn out to be great at all. But if it is great, yeah, I think maybe he gets into that conversation. All right, what's next?
The bananas guys. Good morning, among friends. The banana meter is such. 5 rotten bananas is an atrocity. A banana split is down the middle. And 5 ripe bananas is 10 out of 10. Over the weekend, I saw How to Train Your Dragon. 2.5 ripe bananas. So wouldn't that be a banana split? Isn't that, I guess out of 10, it would be 2.5. I got it. Butler and Parker carried, but felt small. F1, 3 ripe bananas, so it's getting better. It is the most Tom Cruise-less movie I've seen. Everything you want in a sports movie. And Bring Her Back was 5 ripe bananas. I was comfortable, devastated, and uncomfortable, devastated, and ready to give my daughter a hug.
Yeah, I mean...
Did you see Bring Her Back?
I did. Yeah,
okay.
I saw it way late after everybody else. And it's great. I didn't love it as much as that, but it was really good. I am kind of torn right now about whether I have How to Train Your Dragon or F1 ahead of each. Like the best movie of the year to me so far is still Sinners. That to me is still the best movie of the year. I think my second favorite movie of the year so far is Thunderbolts. And then it's close with somewhere in there. I'm just doing this off the top of my head. If I sat down and actually wrote it out, maybe it comes out in a different order. But I'm really struggling right now about whether F1 or How to Train Your Dragon comes out ahead, because I loved How to Train Your Dragon. I thought it was fantastic. So I'm struggling with that right now. But what do I put ahead of what? But I mean, then there are other things. There are other movies that have been great as well. But yeah, we've had a couple of really good ones so far. All right, what's next?
Sci-Fi Extremists, one of two, saw F1 in Cinemark. Man, I wish I had an IMAX closer. That movie is why I go to the movies. Pure adrenaline escapism. I didn't think the plot was bad at all. I enjoyed it. I will say I was surprised when Shake and Bake turned into, holy shit, those midway. Oh no, he says, though midway. I did take some stats. Just because now it's on my mind. Start time was 11:30. The actual start time was 11:54. There were 20 commercials of varying length and 7 trailers. But you're not counting commercials like like when people are getting their seats and stuff.
No, he's
right?
talking about after the 11:30 start time.
Wow. I don't see how you even fit that into that much.
Well,
that's
30
like 20
second commercials.
I guess, yeah, 30
Yeah.
second. Okay. The Roses and Roofman I saw for the first time. They look hilarious.
I love why am I suddenly freezing on 21 Jump Street Boy? Is now Gambit.
Gonna make a name for myself.
Yeah.
Clive Owen. I cannot remember his name to save my life.
Not for you. Channing Tatum.
Channing Tatum.
I like Channing Tatum very much. I don't think the Roofman looks all that great, to be honest with you. But the Roses with Benedict Cumberbatch.
Is this like War of the Roses?
Yep.
Okay.
It's a variation of it.
Uh-huh.
The presentation they showed us at CinemaCon was fantastic. This movie looks really good. I want to say a joke that they showed us, but I'm going to save it. But yeah, that movie looks really good, man. That looks really good. All right, what's next?
We got Kingpin says, Kingpin's Uber Eats driver. Hey, John, do you think a Beyond the Spider-Verse teaser trailer will come out this year? And if so, do you think the footage shown at CinemaCon would be a part of it?
I have no idea what's happening with that now. I really don't. I know they've got a release date, but they've had release dates. Those come and go. As far as I know, the voice actors still haven't recorded their roles. And then the stuff they showed us was just what they had available to show us. So I don't know if that would be in the trailers or not. Listen, everybody knows how much I love these Spider-Verse movies. They're amongst my favorite animated films of all time. I mean, the production of this third one has been a bloody mess. And at some point, someday in the future, they're going to make a documentary about it. So I really have no idea when we're going to get what for this movie. I really don't. I'm honestly, at this point, I'm trying not to even think about it. This is a movie we should have had already. And with whatever they've had going on behind the scenes, we're still here. And then dates get announced and then rescinded. And I'm just going to wait until we actually have something concrete. All right, what's next?
Let's see. It says, it's all Wanda. I hope Superman open spoiler discussion. It's a 4-hour epic. Looking forward to that almost as much as the movie itself. I know you have to cut it off at some point, but if your voice starts to go, maybe at part 2 with Rob, would love to hear his take.
No,
too.
I won't have Rob on it. And the main reason I don't have Rob on it is because that costs me money.
Well, and it would become a 6-hour.
Yeah. And then answering the same number of questions takes double the time.
Yeah.
But it costs me money, and it costs me a lot of money because I believe in paying people for their time. To have Robin and do that. So I won't have Robin to do that. And again, it would just double the length of time. But you guys might remember, like, we had to, like, for Infinity War and Endgame, I think when you add up, like, the original spoiler stream, which was like 3, 4, 5 hours, and then we still weren't anywhere near finished reading all the questions. We had to do like 3 additional videos to tag onto that. I think it ended up being like 7 or 8 hours or something like that. It was crazy. So look, yeah, first of all, I'm not going to let that happen again, because I'm definitely going to turn off chats much earlier. But still, I expect the Superman open spoiler discussion to probably be around 3 hours. I think it'll probably be around 3 hours. And I am very excited about doing it. Super excited about doing it. Get it? No pun intended. So it'll either be Saturday or Sunday from when the movie opens. Saturday or Sunday from when the movie opens. But I'll let you guys know for sure when that comes around. All right, what's next?
Prabojit says, "Hey John, I know it might be silly to be turned off by one line, but hearing Riri say Tony wouldn't be Iron Man without being a billionaire just killed it for me. He built the suit in a cave with scraps. Black Panther 2 was bad, but I was open to the show. Not anymore."
Yeah, that's idiotic. Because here's the thing. I actually addressed this thing on 2. Did you not watch Iron Man?
That's a big jump.
He did not build the Iron Man suit from a box of scraps. I know that's the line Obadiah Stane says in the movie, but that's not what happened. All right? First of all, I don't even like the Ironheart show. I'm not trying to defend the Ironheart show. I don't even like it all that much.
Yeah, but that's such a...
But this whole thing was... I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. This may hurt your feelings, but the line when she said Tony Stark wouldn't be Tony Stark if it wasn't for the fact that he was a billionaire, she's 100% right.
Actually, they did a study, and he would have to actually be a multi-trillionaire for that type of technology.
Okay, so here's why it's ridiculous to say that, okay? To say that, I don't like the fact that she said that. Well, she was right. Number 1, Tony didn't build that suit from a box of scraps. Okay, he had advanced technology, weapons technology, and he would tell the captors what he didn't have a lab, he had a cave, but he had advanced parts, technology, stuff that was provided to him by his captors.
Right.
Secondly, that first Iron Man suit that he built was nothing but a thick, clunky thing.
It had one flight in it.
It wasn't like people saying it. He made the Iron Man suit from a box of scraps. Not what we know as the Iron Man suit. He made this thick, clunky chunk with a little flamethrower and some rocket boosters in his feet. That's not the Iron Man outfit. I know they call it the Mark I, but that's not the Iron Man outfit. It wasn't until Tony got home to his billions of dollars and his multi-hundreds of million dollars house in his advanced super billion-dollar lab with access to all the technology in the world that a billionaire has, that he was able to make what we recognize as an Iron Man suit.
Yeah. One was looked medieval, the other's nanotechnology.
Yeah, the other thing is all it was a thick armor thing with a gas and a flamethrower. That's all he had. He didn't make an Iron Man suit until he got home to his billionaire mansion with his billionaire money getting billionaire technology.
Yeah.
The third thing is the only reason Tony knew even how to make any of that stuff was because he was the son of Stark. He grew up with all the privilege, surrounded by all the technology, and was afforded the highest levels of education his entire life and had everything that he ever wanted, Daddy gave him. That's his own words. So this whole thing, now listen, Ironheart is not a good enough show that you need to find fake things to complain about.
What a straw man.
There's enough things in that show to complain about. But this whole notion of, I don't like that she said that Tony wouldn't be Tony if he wasn't, but it's true. He made an Iron Man outfit from a box of scraps. Fuck, he did not. That's bullshit. That's just a line that Obadiah Stane said.
Right. Because he was frustrated.
Yes. So again, there's enough legitimate things to complain about with Ironheart that you don't need to start making up bullshit stuff. When she said that Tony wouldn't be Tony if he wasn't a billionaire, I'm sorry if this hurts your feelings, but she was absolutely 100% correct. Tony wouldn't be Tony if he wasn't a billionaire. It's just the way it is. Sorry, but that's true. Anyway.
Gotcha.
All right, what's next?
Superman says, regarding the humor in Superman, Christian Harloff said that he asked someone who watched the film and has the same sensibilities as him as if the humor was too overbearing. He said this person reassured that it's not, it's situational humor. Hopefully that's the case.
Again, it's whether it's the person that Christian talked to or people that I talk to, whatever, understand it's one person.
Yeah.
Right? It's one person. I don't get too hyped when I have somebody I know write to me and say, this movie is great. You're going to be very happy. Great. Good. That's a good thing to hear. I'm happy to hear that. But I'm not going to put too much stock in it because maybe they liked it and I won't. Like, we all have different opinions and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to get too ramped up or too negative when I talk to one person who tells me they really hated it. I'm not going to get too down about that because it's just one person. We don't agree on every movie. And I'm not going to get too ramped up when somebody tells me they loved it. No, I get a little more excited when I have a bunch of people tell me they loved it, but we'll see. We'll see. We're now basically a week away. We'll find out soon enough. All right. What's next?
Anonymous says, after the brilliant Spider-Verse films, The Amazing Mitchells versus the Machines, and now the way better than it has any right to be K-pop Demon Hunters, maybe it's time to start taking Sony animation more seriously. Not Pixar DreamWorks, but still great.
Mitchells versus Machines was such a wonderful surprise of a movie. Such a wonderful surprise of a movie. I mean, I'm like everybody else. When that first came out, I didn't think it looked all that interesting. And one night, Ann and I we didn't have anything better to do. So we decided to watch that one night and I loved it. It was so fun. So yeah, now again, the anime stuff, I don't really get into it. So I don't really care about anything that's called K-pop anything, but yeah, they definitely do some great stuff. I mean, hell, they've made 2 of the best Spider-Man movies ever made. So, all right, what's next?
All right. Anonymous says, maximum sarcasm, please, Jonathan. We all know why Superman will fail. The runtime's too short. As we know, longer movie equals better movie. 2, no build up. How am I supposed to know what's happening when we didn't get a movie about Jimmy's grandparents?
I always laugh at this whole thing about, if you're going to do X movie, you need to have other movies that build up to it first. It's such a ridiculous thing. Such a ridiculous thing. I always go back to, Star Wars didn't need a Uncle Owen movie first and a Vader standalone movie and a Han Solo standalone movie and, a Leia standalone movie before you got Star Wars. No, you just make Star Wars. You introduce the characters in it and you're off and running. Guardians of the Galaxy didn't need a Star-Lord movie and a Drax movie and a Groot movie and a Rocket movie and a Gamora movie. No, you just make Guardians of the Galaxy. That's why I've always said I was really interested in George Miller's Justice League. Because that movie they were going to do they were just going to start with Justice League. And I think that would have been fascinating. I really do. You do not need to do individual standalone movies first and then build up. No, you don't need to do that. You don't. It can work. Absolutely. Look how it worked for Marvel. Great. But that doesn't mean it's the only way it can work. And so I was always really fascinated by how that George Miller movie could have worked out. Anyway. All right. What's next?
We got Nick A says, hey, John, I was just booking my tickets for Jurassic World when I saw the AMC app give a notice to the movie will start 25 to 30 minutes after showtime. We covered this, but just wanted to know your thoughts to them giving us this information.
I said this on open mic over the weekend. It's a good start, but here's the problem. I went to go see F1. Said movie starts 25 to 30 minutes. Okay. The advertised start time of the movie was 8:00. By that warning, that movie should have started somewhere between 8:25 and 8:30. It started at 8:20. Now, fortunately for Ann and I, we had to drive a little bit to a theater that was showing it that night because the one closest to us was practically already sold out. So we left a little bit earlier than normal and we got to the theater a little bit earlier than normal. So thankfully we were already in our seats, but I'll tell you what, you would have had a fucking cranky John Campea on his show the next day if it says 8:00 and my AMC app says it starts 25 to 30 minutes after that, which means at the earliest you should start at 8:25. You would have had a very cranky John Campea come in if I got into my seat at 8:25 and the movie was already 5 minutes into it and I missed the opening of the movie. Oh shit, I would have been pissed. So it's a good thing that they're at least starting to be a little bit transparent about it, but it's only valuable if you actually do it. Because you start telling people, oh, it starts 25 minutes after the projected start time. And then people walk into the theaters relying on what you told them, only to find out they've missed the first 7 minutes of the movie. People are going to be pissed. Anyway. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, do you think you'll do videos on the DCU Wonder Woman or a Batman movie or the Batman Part 2 like last night's open mic? I know that's past your retirement, but it would be nice. Also, I never saw Jensen as Batman. If anything, he'd be a great Deadshot or Two-Face.
He's a really good actor. He could be good as anything. I mean, listen, if I'm still doing this by the time the Batman Part 2 comes out, and it's depending how quick they get moving on it, I could still be doing this. Yeah, probably. So like last night I did an open mic where now that we're within about a week of Superman coming out, we did a topic last night and you guys can go see it. It's on the channel. We're basically called 5 Reasons Superman Will Be Awesome and 5 Reasons Why It Might Not Be. And we went over, it was a really good, I had a really good time doing it. It was a really good one. And we had some really good interaction with the audience on that afterwards. But yeah, I could totally see myself doing that. I'll probably, you know what? I'll probably do that for Fantastic Four as well, once we get closer to it. But let's get Superman in our rearview mirror first. And as far as Wonder Woman goes, they haven't even greenlit a Wonder Woman movie yet, right? We know they're writing a script, but they haven't even greenlit that movie yet. So let's not get ahead of ourselves. But the Batman Part 2 is definitely possible. All right, what's next?
JJ says, what's up, John? In regards to your take about World's Finest turning Justice League into World's Finest 2.0, I think I kind of disagree. BVS came out before Justice League in the DCEU, and it felt like a Justice League movie to me. And I don't even like that movie. Did you feel the same way then? Thanks.
That's exactly my point. Like, a bit of Justice League was undermined, I think, because we already got Batman versus Superman. If anything, to me, Batman and Superman are an even bigger thing than Justice League. I know that's not the way it should be. I know it's not how it should be, but it kind of is. And so I think what James Gunn will do, and I've got no information on this, this is just me as a fan speculating. I think he will make sure we have a Justice League movie before we have a World's Finest. Because if you do World's Finest first, then Justice League loses some of that big epic event feel, because we've already had the 2 biggest players in Batman and Superman do a movie together, right?
Yeah, then you just got the side.
Exactly. Yeah. I think you do a Justice League before Batman and Superman together, and then you do a World's Finest sometime after that. Again, I have no proof they're going to do that. That's just me guessing. I'm just speculating. I could be totally wrong about that. All right, what's next?
Logan says, thanks for recommending Shrinking. I started it Saturday night.
Nice.
Ended up watching the first 8 episodes in one sitting. John, you were right. This show is incredible. It's so heartwarming and hilarious. Gabby, Liz, and Derek are my favorites.
Derek is one of my favorite characters on television. One of my absolute favorite characters on television. He's so good. He was the bad guy in Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah.
And you know, he's like the neighbor's husband, and he's so great in the show. Everybody is so great in the show. Guys, I know you hear me say it all the time. If you're not watching Shrinking, you are just simply robbing yourself. Watch Shrinking. This show is so freaking good. It's so funny, and it's so endearing, and so moving, and so insightful, and again, just hilarious. Especially once you get into the first 1 or 2 episodes. And the first 1 or 2 episodes are about getting to now know the characters. And once you start to get to know the characters, every line starts to land perfectly. It's such a good show. Make sure you go watch it. All right, what's next?
We got Mike P with a 3-parter. Hi, gang. Saw F1 movie this weekend and really enjoyed it. F1 and movies are 2 of my biggest passions. Some moments were unrealistic, but probably only noticeable to regular F1 fans. I liked how they showed the drivers' training, especially for their necks. They deal with 4 to 5 Gs while turning, braking, and checking mirrors. So neck strength is crucial. I hope there's a sequel as they skipped qualifying, which is a key part of race weekends. It's a knockout format that can be more exciting. than the race itself on some tracks. The racing was shot spectacularly, and I'm not surprised since they had current drivers producing. I'm a bit behind on shows, so I'll find out what you thought on the movie once I catch up. Love from Portugal.
I loved it. I really did. I don't think it's the best film of the year, but it was a really great, fun movie to watch. Again, is the plot all that profound? No. Are there any big surprises in the film? Also no. Kind of predictable. But that's okay. The plot was executed well, and the main entree was the racing itself. And the way they shot it, just like the way they shot Top Gun Maverick, again, same director. It was just a thrilling in-theater experience. And I don't even give two squats a piss about F1 racing. I really don't. I don't care about it. I'm not anything bad to say about it. I just don't care about it. And I loved this movie. I thought it was great. Now it made like over 55 million domestically this opening weekend, which is pretty good. But it depends on how expensive the film was. Again, the director's already said he'd like to do a sequel and make it a crossover with Days of Thunder and have Tom Cruise's Days of Thunder character come in and have it like him and Brad Pitt's character have a long-time rivalry or something like that. I love that idea. I don't know if you can afford to make that movie, though. That movie would be very expensive. All right, what's next?
We got Alex Von Gollum. You got me intrigued about Project Hail Mary. Since CinemaCon, every time you talk about it, I get more excited. The trailer has positioned it as my most anticipated movie of 2026. Alongside Doomsday, the cinematography and production design look awesome.
Yeah, I'd say right now, my two, all due respect to Doomsday, which I am excited for Doomsday. I'm absolutely excited for Doomsday. Don't get me wrong. But as of right now, my two most anticipated movies of 2026 are Project Hail Mary and The Odyssey. Those are my two most anticipated. Then probably Doomsday. And then Spider-Man will get in there somewhere. But I mean, those are the two. Would I still feel that if I didn't see the CinemaCon footage and I only saw today's trailer? I don't know. But I did see the CinemaCon presentation. And guys, if you like the trailer we got today, the CinemaCon presentation blew it away. Like, absolutely blew it away. And I'm sure at some point they'll probably release it. I hope they do. They often don't, but I hope they do. But yeah, man, I'm excited. Oh yeah, I almost forgot about Dune Messiah. Yeah, sorry, Dune Messiah's got to be up there in that 3 as well. Obviously Dune. Obviously Dune. All right, what's next?
Tron says, who knows if Street Fighter will be any good, but the casting for this film is so bizarre. Jason Momoa, Noah Centineo, 50 Cent, WWE's Roman Reigns, Eric Andre, country singer Orville Peak, and comedian Andrew Schultz.
Yeah, I don't know.
Who knows? It's a Street Fighter movie.
It's a Street Fighter movie. I mean, what? We're not expecting anything. Look, nobody's expecting anything great. Right? Nobody's expecting anything great. But listen, I'm a fan of Jason Momoa. If you can make it fun and you can have some good fight sequence and stuff like that, just make it an entertaining experience. We'll all be good. But yeah, I'm not going to pretend like I'm circling the date on my calendar for this one at this point. All right, what's next?
Consistency. Just watched your 16-year-old movie theater commercials rant, and it was hilarious. My wallet wanted to cry when you said tickets are almost $10 now. I was also surprised how familiar it felt to your recent AMC rants. You're very consistent, and yet nothing has changed.
Yeah, somebody sent me, I don't know if it was you, or I had a couple people. I don't know why, if the YouTube algorithm just started suggesting this video. I did a video, I think it was 16 years ago, about me. It was the first big editorial I did on me complaining about the length of trailers and how much money we're paying to go to the movies, and yet you're showing. And that was from 16 years ago. And it's still the same soapbox I'm on today. It's still on that same one. You know, for the longest time, my big crusade was to get North American movie theaters to finally start having pre-assigned seating. And we got there. So I got to hope that at some point, someday, we'll be able to get movie theaters start cutting down the amount of trailers that they show.
Or just give us the start time.
Or just give us the damn start time. All right, what's next?
Alex Von Gollum says, Benjamin Bratt completely nailed it as Bail Organa in Andor. He brought the resolve, eloquence, and grace the character has always had. His scenes with Mon Mothma were great. Happy Canada Day Eve.
He did a fabulous job standing in. Obviously, like they wanted to get Tony Gilroy talked about this. They wanted to get the original actor back. They tried. but there was a scheduling conflict.
And he wanted to come back too.
Yeah, he wanted to come back. They wanted to have him, but you know, the production as a whole comes first rather than you don't change 1,000 people's schedules to suit one guy. And they just couldn't make the schedules work. And so they went out and got Benjamin Bratt, and he did a great job. He was wonderful. The instant chemistry he had with the Mon Mothma character was great. He truly did a wonderful job. All right, what's next?
Gavin with a $20 tip. Hi, John and everyone. Just wanted to say thanks for all you do. Been watching since 2017.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
You all have really showed and taught me a lot, even helped me get through some tough times. Thanks for everything and keep up the good work.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for supporting us on that level. It's incredibly generous of you. Thank you so much. And thank you for watching that long, man. Sometimes I do need to be reminded just how long we've been doing this. It is kind of crazy how long we've been doing this. I still remember the first conversation I had with my mom. And sorry, it just got a little sad. I still remember the first conversation I had with my mom when I was, because it took me a few weeks to do it. When she was like, I was having this conversation with her, she's like, how are things at the law firm? And I'm like, I actually haven't been there for a while. Oh, you're not there? No, I quit.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Okay. Did you get another offer? No. See, I'm making YouTube videos. Yeah. I'm doing my blog. This was before the YouTube. I'm doing my blog. That's my full-time job now. Doing my blog. And like, obviously, like trying to explain that even to people today is a little bit tricky, but you got to understand that conversation, like 17 years ago.
Yeah. It's sort of like, are you going to get a job anytime soon?
Yeah.
Or...
Well, listen, I'll tell you a true story. I've told this before. For the longest time, but before I do, Marcus Weiss said, you wasted how many years in college? Oh, dude, the only reason I've been as successful as I am is because of my education and my work. My having a little bit of a background in the legal field and all that kind of stuff have come into play to save my ass on many different occasions.
Everything leads to
none of my education has gone to waste at all. It's all been a part of my journey. But anyway, but I've told this before, but without joking, and Anne's mom was just here this morning. For years, Anne's mom just kind of thought I was unemployed. And on the day of our wedding, the day Anne and I got married, this isn't even remotely exaggerated or hyperbole. The wedding's over now. We're all kind of behind the scenes hugging and the family's back there. And Anne and Ray's mom comes up to me, and Anne's parents and I have a bit of a language barrier. Her dad, rest in peace, didn't speak much English at all. Her mom does a bit, but it's kind of broken. So we have a little bit of a language barrier, but still, Anne and Ray's mom comes up to me, gives me a hug, and it was a great day. And she looked at me and said, you got to remember now, I was already pretty successful. And Anne's mom looks at me after a hug and she says, now that I'm married to Anne, she goes, Anne, who's an American, so you can get job now? That's the first post-wedding thing my mother-in-law said to me. So you can get job. It wasn't until, I still remember the day. It was not until her son actually started working for me, and we brought her, Anne and Ray brought her to our AMC studios. This is when I had like 18, 19, 20 people working for me. And to see the whole operation, that was the moment. It took 10 years that she finally got it. Oh, I do have a job.
She's like, when'd you get this job?
Yeah. So now you imagine now 17 years ago, trying to explain to your parent that you've left your job so you can blog. I'm a bloggy blog. I type words on the interwebs, Mom. I think that was a tough one for my mom and dad to swallow. Eventually they got it, but it was a tough one for them to understand at the time. Anyway, you can get job now? Yes. The only other better line than that, Jonathan, that my mother-in-law has said, and some of you on the live chat right now will know what I'm about to say. The only other better line than that was when Anne was sitting down and showing Mom my show, and we were watching the show at their house, and Anne's mom turns to Anne with me in the room, sitting right there. Anne's mom turns to Anne and says, "Why'd John dress like hobo?" Why John dress like hobo? Was the line, and that, some of you might remember, that started a trend where for a while on Movie Talk I was wearing suits because it burned me so bad that my mother-in-law asked my wife, "Why John dress like hobo?" So yes, you can get job now, and "Why John dress like hobo" are the two defining lines of my relationship with my mother-in-law. All right. What's next? Well, you know, we're out of time. Let's take one more question, then we'll pick up on the rest of them tomorrow.
Right. Anonymous says, just started reading Project Hail Mary last night, trying desperately to avoid seeing the trailer until I finish, as I don't want to impact the way I envision the book in my head. Gonna turn the screen off while you're talking about it.
Yeah, I get that. I have an opposite rule. I've had a rule for myself that if I know that a movie is coming and I haven't read the book yet, I will purposely avoid the book until I've seen the movie first, because I want to be able to watch and evaluate the movie on its own merits and not be comparing it to the book in my head as I'm watching the movie. I want to evaluate the movie on its own merits. So I have a little bit of an opposite thing to that, but yeah, it's just me. Yeah. Anyway, guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day and putting up with me looking like a hobo. Big special thanks, of course, to Robert Meyer Burnett for being here, and to all of you guys who sent in your questions. Number one, because you gave us fun things to talk about, but number two, you supported this channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. Hey guys, don't forget to come on back and join us again tomorrow. We know we still had a few questions left over there. We'll pick up right tomorrow with the questions that we didn't get around to today. So we'll get all caught up on that tomorrow. Hey, big thanks to our technical producer, Jonathan Voico.
See you guys later.
And big thanks to all of you guys. Thanks for being here. My name's John Campea. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.